Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. There are several telecommunications associations that are asking Congress to consider a House and a Senate bill that have been put forward for quite some time that would exempt broadband providers from paying taxes on any funds or grants that they would receive from BEAD and some other programs, for example. So this is something that I think is a good idea, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So this makes sense to me, and this is actually a bill that was put forward, I think we'll see here in a minute, I think it was March of 2021, I believe. I'm sorry, that's when it was going to be effective as of, but this is a bill that's been out there since 2022. So you see the organizations here that have sent this letter that are kind of lobbying or sponsoring this effort. So you got CCA, Rural, Regional, Nationwide, Encompass, NATE. That's the Communication Infrastructure Contractors Association. You got the NTCA, pretty well known. Rural Wireless Association, TIA. Wireless Infrastructure Association. You got WISPA and Advocates for Rural Broadband. Surprising, I don't see Fiber Broadband Association on here. I would assume that they would be behind this as well, but they are not part of this letter. I assume that, don't know for sure. And then you can see who it was sent to. So it was sent to members of the Finance Committee and the House Ways and Means Committee in the Senate and the House. So sent to these folks, as well as CC'd to a bunch of other people down here. So let's just look at this real quick. So it says, on behalf of the undersigned organizations representing the U.S. information and communications industry, we encourage your respective committees to include the bipartisan, bicameral legislation. You can see and I've linked, by the way, I've linked to this letter as well as the text for these two bills. So you got your Senate Bill 341 and your House Bill 889, both called Broadband Grant Tax Treatment Act, as part of any broader legislative tax package Congress may consider. So Congress this is the time that they would be going through tax kinds of packages. So they've kind of brought this back up again. As you know, this is something you need to consider. So it mentions that this act would amend the IRS code to ensure funding broadband deployment from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, including programs such as the BEAD program, Middle Mile program, and the Tribal Broadband Connectivity Fund, and other similar federally funded broadband programs will not be considered taxable income. Congress has provided historic investment with the goal of achieving universal connectivity for all Americans. However, without this change in the tax code, a significant portion of funding intended for deploying broadband to unserved and underserved communities will revert to the government in the form of taxes. So it's a really good point if you think about it. So the federal government will be spending, in just the one BEAD program, it's $42.45 billion. So they're going to be allocating that amount of money, most of which is going to be supposed to go to broadband deployment. And as they hand the states that money, and the states hand that money to their subgrantees, the broadband operators who will be deploying that infrastructure, then the federal government's going to take their other hand and they're going to put it in the pocket of the broadband operator and take some of that money back. So what does that mean? Well, the broadband operator they have to consider that if they know when they're getting that grant money, they're going to be paying a certain percentage, 20, I don't forget what the corporate tax rate is, but let's say it's 20%, I can't recall. So they've got to take that percentage of money out of what they're going to be able to use to deploy broadband, and then reserve that to pay taxes on that. That's what businesses do. When you tax a business, I mentioned this yesterday when I was talking about another topic. When you tax a business, that business does not really pay that tax. I mean, yes, they have to write a check, but generally, a for-profit business is going to have to come up with that money some way, and that would be to reduce expansion. Let's take a restaurant, okay? So they're not going to open up another location or open up another room in their restaurant, and they won't expand, or they have to reduce the number of raises that they're going to give, or they have to lay some people off, those kinds of things. So if their costs go up, that's what has to happen. We've seen that with inflation, right? So as inflation costs go for businesses, they have to make changes there. They have to raise their prices, so the consumer suffers, or they have to reduce wages or reduce headcount or reduce expansion. So it's the same kind of thing with taxes, just another cost that businesses have to deal with. Adoption of the Broadband Grant Tax Treatment Act will ensure that funding Congress intended to close the digital divide will be used for that purpose. In other words, they'll be able to use the funds for that purpose as opposed to paying it back to the government taxes. Eliminating this unnecessary tax enjoys broad bipartisan support from members of Congress, many of whom represent communities not yet served by broadband or with limited choices who will benefit immensely from the investments provided by the IIJA and similar programs. These investments will be particularly meaningful in rural and otherwise hard-to-serve areas. Again, these really expensive areas are going to take more money. So, as you take money away from these taxes, it's going to hurt those areas even more so because it's going to be less money for those high-cost areas. Many challenges exist to closing the digital divide. Tax policy should not be one of them. This common sense solution will make sure that several additional $1 billion of broadband funding will be used for that purpose instead of returning to the government as tax, a massive return on the bill's $578 million cost. And there's a note down here that was Joint Committee on Taxation. I guess they're saying that a massive tax return on the bills. I don't know which bill they're talking about, the $578 million cost. I don't know if that's talking about these two bills, the Senate bill and House bill that we're talking about here, if they're talking about the IIJA. It wouldn't seem like these bills would have much cost associated with them. Adoption of the Broadband Grant Tax Treatment Act will result in further investment in innovation and connectivity as work continues to bridge the digital divide, and we strongly urge Congress to support this solution. Sincerely, and then you can see who, again, the associations here, and then, again, who was copied. So, again, it makes sense to me. I don't know why you would, as the federal government, give money out to these, really, it's indirectly, it's going through the state, but you give money, let's say, indirectly to a broadband operator, and then immediately you're going to have to take back some percentage of that in business taxes. It doesn't make any sense. You might as well just withhold that and go that route rather than having to do this all through taxation, which has got a cost of there's a cost of its own associated with taxing people, right? Taxing businesses and individuals. So, and as I mentioned, I linked to the two bills. This is the Senate Bill 341, and then you've got the House Bill HR 889. So I linked to this if you want to check that out. They're very short, so this is not one of those 1,400 pages or page bills that you can't ever get through. This is just about a page, and you can't probably see it, but I noticed something interesting down here. Go in here. So you see here, so there's a amendment, says the amendments made by this section shall apply to amounts received in taxable years ending after March 11, 2021. So this would go retroactive to 2021. So this would help provide, I guess that would be refunds maybe in certain situations, I would think, for grants maybe that were done through CAF, that were whatever was paid out, I guess, in those years. RDOF, USDA Reconnect, 2021, maybe some ARPA stuff. So it would go retroactive to that. And again, as far as dates on this, let's see, what's the summary here? When was this introduced? Actors, titles, text. Can't remember. Oh, here it is. Wait a minute. I have to look over here. Oh, here it is. 2/9/2023. It's 2/9/2023. Yeah. So about a year ago, this was introduced. Read twice and returned to the Committee on Finance that's on the Senate bill, and on this bill, where is it here? Referred to the House on 2/9. House Committee on Ways and Means. So, and then you've got all actions. You can click on that and see anything else that happened here. Introduced by the House. That's pretty much it. So, anyway, you can read through that. Again, there's not much there as far as it's not a long read. You can check out the letter. Again, I think makes sense to me. Like I say, kind of common sense kind of thing that you would do this. Doesn't make sense to give money with one hand and then take it back with the other. And really, the whole purpose of this, the BEAD program, all these things, is to get broadband deployed everywhere. And if you start taking that money back, that's just going to reduce that. That means that an operator, again, is going to have to say, well, I'm getting this much money, but really it's only this much money because I'm going to have to pay some of it back. So I think it's a good idea to do that. So thanks for joining me today. If you're not subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button, and you have to ring the bell if you want to be notified when I'm live. And that's not, it's every day, but you can choose to watch or not. And then go ahead and like this video if it was interesting to you. I'd appreciate that. Take care and have a good day. Bye-bye.